welcome to the Charles Vanhorn Show, where I discuss everything from race, religion, politics, and the community at large. You can follow me on the Facebook group, Race, Religion, and Politics. I know it has been a while since I've made a podcast, but like all things, there comes a time when we need to have a brief and frank discussion. I have been really sitting back and looking at the cycle of politics within this current political season, the back and forth of politicians and the words that come out of their mouth that really don't mean anything. They're only making you these promises so that they could actually get back into office. And some of them are so far-fetched, some of them are so tyrannical in my belief that I believe that most of the Republicans are trying to take us back to a time before women and minorities had rights. You know, it can be a little distressing, it can be a little disturbing, I would say, to try and continue believing in this democratic way of governing, to believe in this democracy when you see the games that are being played with people's lives that not only impact their lives, but in most cases, it costs them their lives. I was looking at the current situation in Jackson, Mississippi, one of the poorest cities in the United States, where their water treatment plant pretty much malfunctioned because it had not kept up with the upgrades that were needed. And I was wondering, how could that happen in a place like Jackson, Mississippi, where the majority of that city is African American? And then I looked at the news article that showed the previous governor, Phil Bryant, who actually funneled funds to Brett Favre's athletic facility that he built. And most of the money that was actually misappropriated went there because it was actually allocated for welfare. But, you know, the schemes that these politicians play, the schemes that they are involved in, none of it went to those who were really in need. It actually went to the more affluent areas in Mississippi and left those who were in the most poverty-stricken areas lacking the funding that was actually allocated to them. In my mind, I say it is very easy to lock up an African American who has an ounce of marijuana in their pockets, but it's much harder to lock up millionaires and billionaires who funnel money from various criminal enterprises into their pockets. It's harder to convict them because of the way the system is rigged, the way the system has been set up. So the poor becomes poor and the rich becomes richer. And I know that a lot is going on in our country. Sometimes it seems that the politicians are looking to keep us divided. It seems that the Republicans are masters when it comes to this, because when Republicans take over government, they rough rod everything through. They push it through. They don't have any type of hindrance in their way. If there is a law that is preventing them from achieving their agenda, they simply change the law and move on. They don't really care about different types of procedures and different types of rules that the Democrats are oftentimes hindered by. The Republicans, when they take control, they make sure that their agenda is kept. And it doesn't really matter who they hurt. It doesn't matter who they have to step on. It doesn't matter what things have to be changed. They only see the objective being reached. So I'm looking now at the Supreme Court decision that took place on the 24th of June, where the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Everyone is saying, oh my goodness, it really has pushed a lot of women into action. I'm still, sort of holding my breath, because the proof will be in the pudding. The proof will be in the November election. Has enough of the American population been pushed into the direction that they need to be pushed into, to get up off of their butts and go out and vote in mass against what the Republicans are trying to do? Because the Republicans really have a deep-seated hatred toward minorities. They have a deep-seated hatred toward all of America that is not millionaires and billionaires. So if you're an average working American and you think that the Republican Party is actually there for you, you are really sort of a few marbles short. The Republicans are not looking to help poor people. They're not looking to help average people. They are there to give tax breaks for the rich and for those who actually donate thousands of dollars to their political coffer. So if you're just a regular Joe, then really you're of no consequence to an elected official. They want someone that can actually put big mega dollars into their campaigns. So it goes again to the mindset of people who think that the Republican Party represents the conservative wing of government. They really don't. Republicans actually spend more in governing than Democrats. Republicans, when they take control, they often outspend their Democratic counterparts. There is no budget. There is no accountability. They actually spend on everything and anything that they so desire. But when the Democrats are in power, the Republicans then change. They tell the Democrats that they need to balance the budget. They tell the Democrats that they need to actually try to work with them and bring down the deficit. None of that is considered when they are the holders of the office. So I'm actually making this podcast today to try to get people to start thinking, because I found out that many Americans, they don't think, and they don't really realize that the rest of the world views us as sort of uneducated when it comes to our political system. The politicians, many of them are educated. Many of them are lawyers. Many of them have went to the most expensive colleges in America. And what they are doing, they're actually just pimping the people. They're actually taking the money from those who are uneducated, those who don't think for themselves, those who refuse to actually sit down with a piece of paper and write out what your politician has told you and go back and research that. All you have to do is really research it. You have a machine. You have a Google machine. You could go and research this and find out if what that politician is really telling you is true. But most of the time, people just take the word of a politician at face value, because they're just too lazy to actually research this information for themselves. I think the old saying says there is no one blinder. I know that's not a word, but that's what the old adage said. There is no one more blinder than he who won't see. There's a lot of people who just really don't want to know the truth. They want to know their political system is the law and forget reality. You really have a large segment of our population that really believe that President Trump won the last election, even though there is statistics, even though there is voter count, even though there is a tally, even though there is an accurate count that he lost. Millions of Americans believe that he won and that the system was rigged or stacked against him. And it doesn't matter what you tell people. People will believe anything rather than believing in the truth. So once again, all I'm doing today on this podcast is trying to get us to start thinking for ourselves when it comes to our political system. We really and truly need more than two political parties in this country. We actually need a party for the people, because neither one of these parties really represent us in our entirety. We really need more than two political systems in this country. But how this Constitution is written, it sort of actually makes any type of third party seem almost as if it's a joke, when in fact it's the two-party system that really is the joke, and the politicians are having the last laugh on the unsuspecting population. So you ask yourself, what is it that I can do when so many things are actually stacked against us? You have voter suppression, voter intimidation, a lot of which has been inspired and a lot of which has been implemented by those of the Republican Party. It's amazing that a minority can hold up the wheel of the majority, but that happens here a lot in this country, where the minority overrules the rule of the majority. So you have Republicans in these gerrymandered districts where even though the majority of the population there is greater than that minority vote, they gerrymander the district so that those voters are packed. The majority are packed into one place, and their vote counts mainly as 1 or 2 percentage points for the entire area, when in fact the gerrymandered district is so miscounted that the Republicans have no trouble winning each election cycle, because that's what gerrymandering does. It makes sure that the majority never receives the adequate representation for which it should receive attention. So I think until this system is eradicated, the entire system is just torn down from the floor up, that we will continue to have problems in this country. We will continue to have voter suppression. We will continue to have voter intimidation. We will continue to have people who exercise their right to vote, but their vote is not counted. We will have people who will stand at the polls and harass those who are going in to vote. So you have a lot that's going on that's making the vote process in this country seem almost not even worth voting. But I want to try to encourage people to keep doing what you can, because I think that in the end, that a lot of the population, a lot of the masses will get tired of this back and forth, and pretty soon we will start voting more like an educated society instead of an uneducated society. And that is my hope, that one day common sense will prevail, and that the people will realize that the politicians are really the problem, and that we have to vote these people out. There should be no friendship when it comes to politics. It should be all about whether or not the politician is representing the people. And when they are representing the people prosper. But when the politicians are representing themselves, the politician prosper and the people suffer. So once we get this strategy straight and we get it right, then America can be a democracy. There can be liberty and justice for all. But until then, we still have a long way to go, because we're still fighting the same old battles from the 1960s. We're still fighting voter suppression, segregation, women's right to choose, people's right to free speech. And it's a lot that is going on where the majority seems to be held hostage by the minority. So until we change that, we will continue to have this continued back and forth within